Okay, hello everybody. This is the Nephew SIG Automation meeting for July 5th. And yeah, I guess the biggest thing to say is we did it. We got our one out. We got it tagged. The approval came through Thursday. And then the on Friday, Rado and I went through and tagged everything. And we had one little glitch that we figured out Saturday morning, which was that we forgot to tag one particular image. And so things weren't coming up, but we found that missing tag, applied it, and now the EDE tests go all the way through. So it's great news. Yeah, so congratulations, everybody. Thank you for everything. It was a lot of work, but I think we accomplished a lot. I'm really proud of what everybody here did. So thank you all. I don't know, maybe just give ourselves a clap.
And thank you, John. I think you did a tremendous amount of work at the end too, in documenting and organizing and recording the demo. I think it turned out extremely clearly, and it was amazing.
Good, good. Glad to hear it. So what's next? That's where we are right now. What's next? So what's next for R2? Not totally clear yet. That's going to be a discussion with the TSC, what SIG1 and the TSC and us, what we want to focus on in R2 to sort of demonstrate the next sort of phase of the bigger goals, right? So as I see it, right, these early releases really are about, hey, we have some ideas about taking these principles and applying them to this particular set of problems. We believe it can make things better. And we're trying to demonstrate how that could be the case. And so I'd like, obviously the TSC to give us some guidance on what would resonate with our audience as far as what applications of those principles. There's 20 different ways we can apply those principles. What are the ones that are going to have the most impact to try and grow people's understanding of what we're doing and all of that. So that's R2. In the meantime, we have, I think, two avenues, two things to work on. One is there's a lot of little loose ends, particularly around reliability. In my viewpoint, and other people have different segments they're interested in, there's some things within the underlying porch layer that are not ideal. The concurrency management isn't very good, and that leads to mostly to delays. It takes things longer to converge than they should, but can even lead to broken packages and things. So I'm looking at that. And then I think there's loose ends to tie up on the operator side as well. But I think, what I would ask folks to do, and we can do it here or we can do it offline, is give some thought to the areas they think could use kind of cleanup. And of course, give thought to what you think R2 should look like. And that'll be a discussion with the broader community. The other major area I want to focus on is the educational material. So I have an issue out there, I think I've shared a couple times, with some ideas around how to present some of the concepts and things. And so I plan to spend some time focusing on refining that idea, maybe picking one or two and executing on it. But I would, this is something that would be, it's a great opportunity for everybody in the community to come together, I think, and build a bunch of material that will help broaden our understanding of people across as we try to communicate this stuff to the world. There is, and I'll say one more thing and then I'll open up the floor. The official PR, press release, announcements, all that stuff is something that LF is working on right now. So the more material like that we can build up ahead of time, the less confusion there will be after they send out the announcements. And that's expected to go out in about a week and a half. So mid-July, I think. So any other, anybody have any thoughts, ideas, comments?
Yeah, so I promised that I would try to lead a post-mortem, but let's not use that word post-mortem. I already regret using it because we're not examining a dead body, we're examining a very live body. My idea, yeah, yes, excellent, retrospective, yes, perfect word. So I thought of trying to organize it in terms of a survey that would cover various aspects in terms of project goals, achievements, community process, code, something very deep that would go out to everybody who's been involved in FEO, and we can kind of coalesce and see how the community as a whole feels about everything that we've done. So I'll take the first stab at kind of building this survey, but the survey itself will be open, and all of us can discuss what items to put in the survey and what not. So I'll try to start working on this week and send something out that people can comment on. Retrospective, yes. Another quick point is, as part of the release blitz, yes, time zone issue. That's actually an excellent point too, to talk about just the organization of the meetings. I'm sure we all have a lot of comments to say about how the meetings were handled and the calendar stuff. That absolutely did not work well. But anyway, I wanted to mention another thing as part of so July 18th is currently the date that Linux Foundation is setting for announcing R1. And we still don't know exactly how the public relations blitz is going to work. I think we're going to have some conversations with Linux Foundation about this, but some of us have already written articles, kind of blog posts that will go out with it. I've written one, and it's really open to anybody who wants to say something about what NEFIO means for the industry, how it all went, their own personal impressions. You can do your own retrospective, and you can also do your own envisioning of what the future should be, and make arguments for where we should be going. I think we purposely want to keep it very open for anybody to make their own stance about it. So this is the time. If you haven't written something yet, I think this is the time to start writing something and submitting. If you need help with it, you can contact me or Sunny or Lucy from the Linux Foundation. Sunny's the one who's managing it, so she's the one who's kind of collecting these posts. But if you're confused, you can just contact me.
I was just trying to capture that. I think I have Sunny's. Okay. Thank you, Tal. So retrospective, logistics, time zones, etc. Okay, great. Well, yeah, and
just on the
yeah, go ahead.
Just on the retrospective, maybe as well, we just talk a little bit about how we can improve the software engineering way of working and all that stuff. Yeah, just kind of reviews and sizes of commits and all that kind of stuff. I know if that's software engineering, but
yeah.
Right. I think we want to cover the 3 SIGs in this retrospective, right? Really looking how each SIG performed. as well as the project as a whole. So I'm going to err on the side as being as comprehensive as possible. If it gets to be too long, we can winnow things down and make it a shorter survey.
Yeah, well, maybe we can take that that's kind of SIG2 type stuff. Maybe we can take that kind of sub retrospective or something, you know.
Yeah, I mean, it's hard to say. SIG, like from a release perspective, it was mostly SIGs 2 and 3 that were involved, right? So SIG 1 was isn't as involved directly in the release. I mean, folks from SIG 1 are, but really in the context of working in SIG 2. But still, whatever. Yeah, it's open to anything. So let's just let's do it. Any other thoughts from folks? Any loose ends on R1 that people want to call out, or we want to do that on the board, or in the backlog, which is fine. I think, like near the end, we sort of stopped using the GitHub very much. I mean, the issues we were just sort of like iterating through each individual, through the EEEs and trying to fix the problems as we found them. Yeah, Tal.
Yeah, just a reminder for me, or we can put it on the list too. So at one point I made a really major commit PR to the operator code, and onto another asked me to kind of, well, I made so many refactoring and changes there, they really wanted me to go over it and explain why I did things. So it might be a good idea for me to schedule a session just that I can go over it and explain.
I'm good. I don't need an explanation.
Okay, all right. Then maybe it's unnecessary. Okay.
Okay, I'll just put it here, and I'll just put it here as a question.
Yeah. Okay.
Maybe it's a good idea, Tal, because many folks, maybe because it was running in 3 parallel tracks. I think folks who have not been kind of involved in the operator development could get a view of it.
Well, that brings a different point, Ravi. Maybe we should. So what I was thinking, when I was thinking about this, I was thinking like outbound, but there may be a review of some different parts of the code. But we did, like early on, we did lots of discussions of some of the SDK in the function side of things, and in package variant stuff, we talked a lot about that. But what's happened is, of course, we learned through the process of actually building the thing and getting it to work, and there have been changes. And so maybe a revisiting, like on the package variant stuff, I want to completely change how it works. Well, not completely, but I want to significantly change how it works. And I've got an issue out there to describe it. Like there's how it works now, there's what we learned, and how it should be revised based on what we learned. And there's probably similar things in other areas. So that might be a useful set of, I'll put that in a separate thing. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I think yeah, for the wider audience, for sure. Yes.
Yeah. So post-release design.
So John, should that not be part of our educational stuff?
It probably should be. I was sort of thinking, yeah, it probably should be.
Because education is on one hand for people not so much involved in FU, but also I think involved in FU from a development point of view, right?
Yeah, exactly. I agree. That's sort of like when I was originally saying the educational stuff, I was thinking the outbound stuff, but I think we can just, yeah, we can. Yeah, sure. I think there's some hands. Whose hands are up? Tal and Liam.
Go ahead there.
Leftover, sorry.
Yeah, no, yeah, one thing that would be very useful is it would be a developer focused sessions to go through in depth some of, and this is probably going beyond what we need to do in education. So just stepping through the code. The two areas in particular, one would be the whole package variant set and how prow and config sync, and it's not prow, how porch and config sync and kept all kind of sing together, and how it's happening gitty, just stepping the thing in detail.
Yeah.
Yeah. Now I've kind of gone through it a little bit myself, but I think if we just we could just record them kind of in an unstructured way, just put them up, you know. And then the other area that I think would be useful would be the function, you know, the function framework that that Vim led. Those two areas are just two that I would love to say. I'm not talking to, it could be 3 or 4 hour session maybe. Ideally, this would be almost, you know, if you get in a room, but I know that's not possible. But this really would, that would be something that I'd love to, if it could be done, you know.
Yeah, I mean, well, I think both the, I mean, I think that definitely there's discussion of having an in-person get together. I don't know when, and I don't know how many people will be able to come. You know, so we potentially could do something like that during an in-person get together, but I also do think it's valuable.
Yeah, I think we do it online anyway. You know,
make it so that people anywhere can see it who can't be there at that time, you know.
Exactly. But it's probably something that, you know, we kind of rather unstructured thing, but you know, that you just say, yeah, okay, this is what's happening, and then we go, let's say, look at CRDs, look at the resources we created, see what controllers are it's triggering, then looking in the code, you know, that level of real detail.
Yeah, absolutely. I'd love to do that. Yeah. And a lot of that's useful from the point of view of like, right, if you're, some of that becomes, the end users have to understand some of that, right? Because they have to sort of, they have to utilize those primitives, right? And then they have to make, you know, these things aren't just for the developers. They don't need to understand how it all works to the level you're saying, but they need to understand, oh, when I create a package variant set, here's why I would do that, what it does, how it helps me. And similarly, here's why I create an IP claim or a VLAN claim or a net, you know, like they need to understand how these different pieces fit together. So that's definitely not only a developer focus, but there's an end user aspect to that. So we probably like need to cover those same things, I guess is what I'm saying, in two different ways. One, just from the end user perspective, and then one, how does that actually get implemented?
Yeah, maybe another area could be the actual free 5GC feature functions. It's not an area I looked at, but I think maybe it's probably something that could be another candidate.
Yeah.
Thanks, Sean.
Yep, sure. And
I think you just put it down, documentation. Right now, the documentation set is more about end user, and that's about developer focus. So I think, I don't know, I don't think we need a full set of developers documentation, but we do need something. You know, starting from like, you know, here's your development environment, here's all the tool we use to develop, and here's, you know.
Right. Okay, so what I would call that almost the contributors. Part of that is contributors guide.
Yeah.
Guide like dev environment. So
but also architecturally, like, you know, we have 3 different subgroups, and that's because of the architecture and how the architecture works.
yeah, I'm not sure those subgroups are going to survive past R1, like the package management, like the we did that kind of for parallel execution. And I think when we know what we're working on in R2, they may change. Like it may be like, oh, there's a subgroup for you know, operator SDK, right, or something, right? Like
Yeah,
that's
understood.
kind of sort of like the workload one, but not exactly, you know. So yeah, okay, but still, yeah, I think, you know, but I think your point is where you know, the architecture and how that relates to the community structure
Yeah.
and
Like-
where you can join in.
Over the last week or so, I was poking into Porch and config sync again, and I realized that we have, I mean, not we Nephew, but we Porch, we config sync have a lot of documentation, but there's not really a good pointer page, right? So it's like a lot of Googling around, poking around, trying to find the right set of information to start on.
Right,
That
right,
kind of
right.
stuff.
Yeah. And did you just raise your hand again, or you unraised your hand? Okay.
Sorry, lower.
No, that's okay. I'm just sort of writing down the things I was thinking about. Porch stuff. There's package variant revisions, and there's concurrency issues. I already have a partial fix for that, by the way. And then there's, by the way, I don't know if I mentioned it here, but we did get Captain Porch are now in the process of onboarding to the CNCF. So that vote passed, and there's some process we have to go through, like transferring trademarks and whatever. But I don't know that we have any trademarks. But so anyway, yeah, so that's good news. I know that the folks from Nokia in particular weren't able to, you know, contribute under the Google CLA, but under the CNCF CLA, that should be fine. And then the other thing, I don't know that this will be R1++, but I'm thinking we can consider it for it is, though probably not. This is probably R2, but I have an issue for this. So what this is, sorry, let's try and see if Google would find it for me. But anyway, if there's nothing else, I don't want to hold people here. I just thought it would be good to at least have a touch point and say, hey, we got R1 out. Let's here's some things we can work on. As far as getting we don't have any official plan for like a 1.0.1 or 1.0.2 or anything, but we can do that between now and the actual announcement if there's critical things we find. So feel free to, you know, go through the workflows, go through the exercises, file bugs. There are already some bugs filed, like Ravi filed a bug on this issue where it says like, you know, the source fragment doesn't match or something weird like that. Sometimes on like the when you try and copy a package and things like that, that's part of the concurrency issues. So like there's a number of things like that. So check if there's already an issue filed, but if you want to file issues, go for it. And then we'll decide, I guess, together whether we want to do a 1.01 that fixes a few little bugs or not between now and the announcement.
Yeah, Piotr find a few in the manual because we typically execute the automated thing, John. And I think in the manual README, there are a few issues. So he raised a few PRs, I think. I've been debugging some with them.
Oh, okay. Yeah, especially the docs are easy to change. We don't even need to tag those probably.
Yeah, but there's some scripts and stuff like that. So yeah, Piotr raised,
okay.
I think, 3
Awesome.
or 4 PRs. Yeah.
Awesome. Thank you. Perfect.
Quick question.
Okay. Yeah.
Do we have R1.1 or are we going straight into R2?
Undecided.
Oh, okay. Thanks.
I think they're not gonna. I think I don't think there's any, yeah, I have no idea. We can, so let's separate out the sort of marketing name, R1, R2, R3, our marketing names. I think they'll match the major version number. We can do a 1.1 if we wanted to mechanically in the tagging and stuff, but I don't think that from a TSC's perspective, they're going to go to that level. They're going to think R1, R2, R3. That's my impression, but obviously it's up to them.
I'm asking because we may have some stretch goals that we might not have fully hit, and we want to add.
Okay, that's a good point. We'll review the stretch goals. That's a great point. Yeah.
Yeah, the thing is, what do we do with the topology manager and the watcher
Yeah.
agent and stuff? Because we
that's,
didn't
that's the thing. So
include
for me,
Yeah.
definitely that would be an emphasis. The end of the
Well, one of
policy
the things about that is it probably can be delivered actually almost, I mean, I'm happy to do it as an R1.1 or even just add it in before the 2 weeks are up, right? But as a 1.0.1, but it could actually, since it's a separate controller, it can just be delivered on top of whatever we have to, right?
Yeah, that's what we talked about too. Yeah.
Yeah, great point. Okay. Anything else? So then I guess what we'll do is over the next day or two, I'm going to get started on some of those educational things. I'm going to get started on some of these things I've listed. Other folks feel free to come in and add things to the document here, I guess. And we'll start with this, and eventually, like we did before, we'll make these into backlog items or directly create backlog items. That's fine too. And we'll start reviewing them first offline for the next week, and then in the next week's meeting, we can see what we want to do. Yeah, Tal.
Yeah, so a quick question. So I wasn't present when we tagged everything, but let's say we continue working now and doing PRs and moving the code forward. If we go through the documentation and install everything, it will still use the tagged controllers and everything, right? So we're not.
So this is a good point. No,
We're using latest tag.
We probably need to update the documentation to specifically tell people to pull a tag version, because it probably doesn't do that right now.
Okay, so in terms of cat packages, etc., we're using the latest tag for images.
No, okay, so no, that we fixed. So all the cat package, you're right. Okay, what in the manual instructions, we have people launch a VM or create a VM and pull in the test info repo, and then we kind of have all the exercises through there and all the sandbox setup through there. What they'll have to do is pull the v1.0.1 test info repo when they do that, which means if they're doing the gcloud command, it means a change to the. Right now, it just says to pull this raw init.sh script, and it doesn't include a tag. Well, you can't really, you could point it to the tagged one. We probably should. Other than that, if they do that, all of the cat packages it pulls are all the manifests have the v1.0.1 tag in them.
Okay, so that's. Yeah, I think we just need to fix the documentation to make sure that, because, 3 months from now, we might make a change to it and it'll break. So, yeah, I think that might be the last thing to fix. But
yeah,
if that's fixed, then I think, nothing's stopping anybody from doing PRs now. I think everybody's tired, but we can still continue just making progress. There should be no worry about users who are going to the R1 documentation will be using R1 code.
Correct. Yes.
Yeah. Okay. Excellent. Okay.
Okay. Well, if there's nothing else, let's wrap it up a little early. And everybody have a great week. And yeah, I can
Wait,
take
wait.
these. What?
Where's the party?
I don't know, man. I guess there's a TSC call tomorrow, so maybe Kanlan will
Yeah. So
propose some
Conrad
dates.
is the party animal here, so I think he's in charge of the celebrations. But I understand that we do want to invite people somewhere, but we'll see how. Yeah, I guess the TSC meeting will delve into that.
I have the wine ready.
Excellent.
I have the glass ready.
Well, you know, we can have people can have their own local little parties too. We don't have to wait for the TSC.
Yeah, but if I do that, then the remote people will complain that we're discriminating against them.
They can have their own parties too.
That's true.
Cal will be there all by himself in Chicago, unfortunately. But hey, you can party by yourself, right?
Yeah, well, you know, Varesh made the point here about time zones. It's something we'll think about in the retrospective too, is a great deal of this project is focused in European time zone, many of the contributors. So something might be here, you know?
Actually, I just want to raise the point that Stephen and I end up doing a lot of 11 p.m. to midnight or 1 a.m. calls. So we, at least from my perspective, I try to accommodate, right? So
yeah, and we
all
also
have
tried
to work
set up
around it.
We did try to set up in India an IST based call, but nobody joined. So
Yeah.
Venkat was willing to run a scrum, and I reached out to folks on Slack and didn't get any response or very minimal response. So that kind of fell apart. But I would love to have. It actually was kind of neat, like, because we had people here in the U.S. and people in Europe and people in India and elsewhere, but specifically on the specific pieces I was working on, it was like I would reach a certain state and then I would go to bed and then I'd wake up and somebody had taken it further, right? And so that was kind of nice. But so we can use it to our advantage, I guess, is my point, rather than it being a disadvantage if we manage it well.
And of course, Vim never sleeps.
Apparently not. He did say once he was getting tired, so I guess he does sleep sometimes.
Maybe he's sleeping right now. He's not responding.
It's a misconception, I think.
Okay.
Well, the time zone, WTC, I think.
Yeah.
Any other comments? I don't, I'm always one for ending meetings early, I have to say, like if there's nothing pressing, but I also don't want to end meetings with people not saying what they need to say. So is there anything else? Okay, awesome, everybody. Thank you so much. And yeah, let's keep going. We made great progress. We've got momentum. Let's keep it going. I mean, we can take a little rest, but
Sure.
Thank you all.
Thanks,
Bye.
Thanks, John. Thank you.
Bye.
Congrats. Yeah, bye.
Bye.